What are you doing? The two of them flinched at my voice and stopped moving. On the sofa in the living room, a man was hunched over my wife. My wife, who had been looking at me with a pale face, suddenly came to her senses and shouted, "It's a robbery! It's a robbery! Help me, Hiroshi!" Quote. Hearing my voice, the man moved. He got up from the sofa and lunged at me with his large body. I am Hiroshi Miyata and I work as a systems director at an IT company. I have been married to my wife, Rina, for 3 years. Rina was originally a junior colleague who worked at the same company as me. When I saw Rina after she joined the company, I remember feeling a shock run through my body. With her long, thick, shiny hair half up and wearing a neat cream-colored setup, Rina looked radiant compared to the other new employees. I knew it at first sight. From then on, I approached Rina every time I answered. Thinking back on it now, I feel embarrassed by how I approached her, but that's how much I was in love with her. I truly believed that she was my destined partner. I still can't forget the joy I felt that day when Rina nodded shyly when I asked her to go out with me. After dating for about a year, we got married. Rina retired on the day of the wedding and started working from home as a freelance web designer. I wholeheartedly agreed with Rina's idea that she wanted to create an environment where she could continue working even after the birth of her child. Rina's income as a freelancer was not much and was unstable, but I already had enough income to support the two of us, so it wasn't a problem. My work was going well. When I got home, my beloved wife was waiting for me. My life was the epitome of happiness. Before that incident, I was watching the news after dinner one day when I came across a disturbing report. It was about a man who had broken into a house in the middle of the day, assaulted a housewife who was home alone, and stole her belongings. I hid in front of him. Things have been getting dangerous lately. Rina, you're home alone during the day, so be careful. It's okay. When I'm alone, I lock the front door. When the doorbell rings, I use the intercom to make sure it's the person. Lena answered with a smile. Lena's easygoing nature was charming, but it was also something that worried me. I hugged Lena, who was sitting next to me on the sofa. Even so, I'm worried. If something happened to Lena, I might go crazy. Lena giggled embarrassedly at my words. The atmosphere became nice, and I whispered in her ear. Hey, Lena, tonight. When Lena heard that, she gently shook off my hand and casually moved away. I'm sorry. I just don't feel like it today. I've been busy lately, so maybe I'm a little tired. I see. Well, it can't be helped. Don't worry about it. Even as I said this, I was secretly shocked. We've been married for 3 years, and we still don't have any children. The newlywed period had passed and I had been wanting to have a child with Rina for a while now, but recently, every time I asked, she had turned me down, so the number of times had clearly decreased. I wonder if it was a medical examination machine. As I continued to struggle with the issues of married life, I had no one to talk to about it, so I was left to ponder it all by myself. A few days later, a message arrived at my desk while I was at work. The sender was Mayumi Motoyama. She was my colleague and worked in the sales department. She had gotten married in the office a few years ago and was now a mother for a time, but she had always been a workaholic and had been working hard as a salesperson since returning from childcare. The content of the message from her was as follows: Can we go to lunch today? I I have something I want to talk to you about. It was a simple message that was typical of her, with only the necessary information. Thinking it was about work, I replied with an okay. After the morning shift was over, I came outside the office and Mayumi was waiting for me. Sorry for the sudden call. Let's go. She urged us to a restaurant a short distance from the office. She went to the back of the restaurant, chose a table that was less visible, and sat down. I sensed at that moment that she wanted to talk about something she didn't want others to know about. At first, we had a casual conversation about recent events, but when the waiter put down the food and left, Mayumi's expression became serious. Miyata-kun, how has Rina-chan been lately? Well, she's not really changed. She seems a little busy with work lately. I was confused when Rina's name was suddenly mentioned, but I answered. Mayumi seemed to think for a moment after hearing my words, but then she took a deep breath and looked at me as if she had made up her mind. Let me start from the beginning. The other day, I went to N-Town for a meeting. On the way back, I passed by Haka Street in front of the station, and there I saw my husband. He was arm in arm with a woman. Mayumi told me with a gloomy expression. Then I realized. Mayumi's husband, Koji Motoyama, is my senior, although we work in different departments. When I first met him, I had the impression that he was a very wise man, but after he married Mayumi and had a child, he seemed to have settled down a lot. Was that really Motoyama? Because it was during working hours. I couldn't believe it at first either. But it was definitely Koji. He works remotely almost every day, so to be honest, he could easily cover it up even during working hours, and my company had decided to allow employees to choose between working remotely and coming to the office due to the coronavirus pandemic. I usually go to the office to work because I can concentrate better at work, but there are many employees like Motoyama who work remotely most of the month. So, the woman who was with him, Anumachi, is near Mida-kun's house, right? She was being roundabout, which is unusual for Mayumi. I had a bad feeling about it. Hey, no way. I hadn't seen her in a while, so I was a little confused. The woman who was with him was Rina-chan. That can't be right. I couldn't help but shout out loud. Remembering that it was inside the store, I looked around and saw the staff and customers watching me. I took a deep breath and calmed myself down. That can't be. I must have been mistaken. At first, I thought it couldn't be either. But it was definitely Rina-chan. Mayumi said this with a needy look on her face. Mayu. She was good at remembering people's faces and names because of her job. If she could say this much, could it really be Rina? I changed the subject to organize my confused thoughts. So what happened to the two people Mayumi saw after that? I tried to follow them for the time being, but when we entered the shopping district, there were so many people that I lost sight of them, and I couldn't figure out where they went. If we go through the Imashi shopping district, it's about a 5-minute walk to my house. The two of them came to my house, and Yumi bowed her head to me, who was covered in blood from the unpleasant statue. I'm sorry. It's only confusing if I suddenly start talking about this. What I wanted to ask Miyata-kun was if there was any sign that Rina was seeing a man, or if he had any idea what might be going on. I couldn't say that there was no such thing, so I hesitated. The obvious decrease in our nightlife weighed heavily on me now. Was it because Rina had stopped responding to me, not because of the belt checker, but because she had another man? After staring at me in silence for a while, Mayumi went to look after me. It doesn't have to be right away. If you have any idea what might be going on, please let me know. I replied to Mai, who bowed her head, half absent-mindedly. I was torn between wanting to trust my wife and doubting her. Over the next few days, I casually checked on Rina. Rina seemed the same as usual, but I noticed a small change in her. Rina had never looked at her smartphone much to begin with, and she was the type who was slow to reply to line messages. I had been jealous of her many times since we were lovers. However, for the past few days, she had been constantly on her phone, never making eye contact or speaking, and whenever she received a call, she would immediately reply, indicating that she was frequently in touch with someone. Thinking back, I realized that this wasn't just happening for the past few days. I remembered that for some unknown reason, Lena had always been concerned about her phone. Since Lena had become a freelancer, I had assumed that she was checking her work-related contacts, so I hadn't paid much attention to it. However, after hearing that story from before, I had become strangely concerned. While Nina was taking a bath, I tried to secretly check her phone, but of course it was locked and I couldn't see what was inside. I pondered what to do, torn between the unshakable suspicions I had about Lena and the guilt I felt for suspecting my wife. As a result, I decided that rather than continuing to suspect Lena and feel uneasy, I should make things clear. I decided to set up hidden cameras in the house. I bought several pet cameras and secretly hid them in places I had planned, such as the entrance, living room, and bedroom. Despite my vague unease, I hoped that this behavior would end. A few weeks later, on the weekend, I went to an internet cafe with the SD card containing the camera recordings. I wanted to concentrate on checking the recorded content without Rina noticing that I was secretly recording. I connected a card reader to the internet cafe's PC and checked the videos stored on the SD card, skipping through them every hour. The first and second days only showed Rina working and doing housework. A faint hope began to grow in my heart. There was no way Rina would have an affair. Maybe mommy had just been mistaken. But on the third day, my faint hope was cruelly crushed. On the morning of the third day, Rina saw me off and started cleaning the living room and bedroom. She was clearly restless and uneasy. Around noon, the intercom rang. I looked at the monitor and saw Rina smiling and answering the caller. I could tell that she was close to the caller. When I checked the video from the entrance, I saw Rina opening the door and welcoming the caller. The caller was just as I had feared. Motoyama. The man who had moved there was my senior at work, and Mami's husband, Koji Motoyama. Motoyama entered the entrance and, without even taking his shoes off, embraced Rina and gave her a passionate kiss. Without showing any resistance, Rina gave herself over to Motoyama and wrapped her arms around his back, clinging to him. I stared at the scene in a daze. It didn't feel real, probably because it was through a video. It felt like I was watching a drama. I moved my hands indifferently, unable to think, and switched the video. The two were sitting next to each other on the sofa in the living room. Even while he was being cut off, Motoyama had his arm around Rina's waist, and Rina was leaning demurely against Motoyama's shoulder, resting her head on his shoulder. It was clearly the closeness between two people in an intimate relationship. Eventually, the two stood up, cuddled up to each other, and disappeared off screen. I switched the video and moved the time forward a little, and the two of them appeared in the bedroom. They had probably taken a shower between the time they came from the living room and the time they came to the bedroom. Rina was wearing a long, flared bamboo camisole, and underneath she appeared to be wearing underwear. Motoyama was shirtless, and on the lower half of his body he was wearing my sweatpants. I endured the nausea and kept watching the video. I already knew what was going to happen next, and to be honest, I didn't want to see it. But I had come this far, and I couldn't help but watch it. Driven by that feeling, I kept watching the video. And finally, the decisive moment arrived. A few minutes later, the image of Rina and I, embracing each other on the bed we shared as a couple, appeared on the screen. I couldn't hold it in any longer, so I ran to the toilet and threw up everything in my stomach. Tears flowed endlessly along with the contents of my stomach. The wife I loved and married had betrayed me in a way that left no doubt. After returning to the private room, I sat in a chair and spent the time in a daze. When I noticed, my smartphone was notifying me of a call. It was a line message from Rina. "What time are you coming home today? Dinner? What do you want to eat?" I transformed with just one word: "I'm staying at a friend's house." I didn't want to see Rina today. I asked the receptionist to extend my time, and decided to stay at the sleeping cafe tonight. I looked at Rina's line message again. It was a casual message from a wife who was concerned about her husband. But this girl was betraying me with such a casual look on her face. A fierce anger began to grow inside me. I wouldn't be satisfied until I showed Rina and Motoyama a lesson. My mind, which had been unable to think of anything, began to race with adrenaline. I played back the video I had stopped. I had to gather as much information as possible to corner them. When I checked, the two had met at our house twice last week. The flow was the same on the second floor. Motoyama came to the house around noon, and after having sex in the entrance and living room, the two of them took a shower, had sex in the bedroom, and Motoyama left before evening. I skipped the scenes where they were having sex and picked up as much as I could of the two of them talking. The camera captured the audio perfectly. From their conversation, I learned that their affair had lasted for nearly 2 years. I remembered that about 2 years ago, Rina went to a drinking party to celebrate the wedding of a former colleague and didn't come back without contacting me. She said she got drunk at the time and asked a friend to stop her, but in reality, she had drunkenly gone to a hotel with Motoyama. There were also scenes in the video where she talked about me and mommy. "My husband has been asking me out a lot lately. It seems like he wants to have a child soon. Children are cute, but once they become mothers, to be honest, a woman is finished. My wife also asks me what we're going to do about having a second child, but I don't think I can do that to her anymore. That's terrible. Poor mommy." Despite her words, Rina was laughing. In that respect, Rina is good. She has no flabby areas and her body is toned. I like men who are as muscular as Koji. My husband eats a small amount and doesn't gain weight easily. He takes great care of me. I was in my late 20s and was in a hurry, so he proposed to me and we got married, but to be honest, I'm not sure if he's attractive as a man. As I listened to their conversation, a flame of anger burned inside me. They betrayed each other's feelings and then went on to say something that was even more disrespectful. I vowed to myself that I would definitely teach these two a lesson, and I checked out more videos. The conversation changed to how they would cover up their erratic behavior if I found out. Motoyama seemed to have an idea and began talking with a smirk. There was a robbery the other day where a housewife was alone in the middle of the day when a housewife was robbed. We're going to make it look like the same thing happened. We'll make it so that a man forces his way into the house and Rina is attacked by him. Wait, so Koji plays the role of the man who attacks? That's right. If he just threw himself at her, he could knock her down in one hit. I'll tie her up with an electric cord or something. I'll hide her face and run away, so Rena can just cry to him, saying she was attacked by a robber. What's that? But that kind of play might be a little exciting. I stopped the video when the two of them started making out. I'll pretend that Rena was attacked by a robber. Something suddenly occurred to me. I might be able to use this story. I gathered my thoughts and contacted Mommy. The following Friday. That morning, I was about to leave the house with my luggage for the overnight stay. Rena looked at me with a worried expression. I've been busy with work lately, and I've been staying overnight, so I'm going on a business trip on top of that. Isn't that a bit too much? I can't help it. It's a busy time. I didn't want to see Rena as much as possible. I absolutely couldn't sleep in the bed where Rena and Motoyama had sex, so I've been staying at a business hotel near the company for the past week. I actually have a paid day off today, but I told Rena that I'm on a 2-day business trip and won't be back until tomorrow night. Make sure you lock the door and lock it. You never know when a robber might break in and attack you, like they did on the news the other day. Don't worry about it. It'll be fine. I left the house, seeing off Lena, who was giggling. I went straight to a family restaurant a little ways away from home. It was in the opposite direction from home, so there was little risk of running into Lena or Motoyama. When I sat down, I opened my smartphone and checked the inside of the house with the pet camera. I had set the camera to live last night so that I could see inside the house in real time from my smartphone. The camera in the living room showed Lena cleaning. Judging from her restless behavior, I figured that Motoyama was probably coming to visit. I had also consulted Mayumi about this matter and asked for her cooperation. I told Motoyama that my child was having a sleepover with his friends and that he should stay at his parents' house, and she urged him to visit Lena. Go ahead and worship that idiot for me. Mayumi said this to me with a snort, and she agreed to cooperate with this plan. I also vowed to myself that I would make this plan a success for Mayumi's sake and make those guys pay for it. As time passed, around noon, the intercom rang. As expected, Motoyama had come to visit Rena. Was he planning to stay at the house? Was he trying to fool Mayumi? He was carrying a slightly larger bag than usual. Long time no see. I missed you. Me too. After such an exchange, the two of them immediately shared a passionate kiss at the entrance. I had checked the videos from the past week, but it seemed that Motoyama had been busy with work and hadn't visited Rena. The two of them must have been fired up by their desire. They headed straight to the living room, where they both began to take off their clothes on the sofa. The way they embraced each other while washing and breathing was the very image of beasts in a rage. Hey, they're here so soon? I was amazed at the two of them being so serious, and I couldn't help but mutter to myself. However, this situation might actually be inconvenient for my plan. After paying the bill, I left the family restaurant and headed home. I secretly unlocked the front door so the two wouldn't notice and went inside. Rena's high-pitched voice echoed throughout the house. I tiptoed toward the living room. When I peeked into the room through the half-open door, Motoyama was on top of Rena, desperately shaking his hips. They both seemed to be absorbed in their actions. If I was going to do it, now was the time. I counted down 3, 2, 1 in my mind, threw the door open, and went all out. What are you doing? The two of them flinched at my voice and stopped moving. Rena raised her head and looked at me, but Motoyama didn't turn around, perhaps trying to hide his face. This was convenient for me too. Kishi-san. Rena stared at me with a straight face and wide eyes, as if she had seen a ghost. For a moment, it was as if time had stopped and no one moved, but then Rina suddenly came to her senses and shouted, "You robber! You robber! Help me, Hishi-san!" Quote. Motoyama also moved when he heard that voice. He got up from the sofa and lunged towards me, hiding his face with his arms. He must have been trying to knock me down with a body blow. I deflected Motoyama's charge and grabbed his thick arm and twisted it. "Ouch, ouch!" Motoyama screamed. I swept Motoyama's legs to the floor and rolled him face down onto his back so he couldn't move. In the meantime, I pulled out a nearby slingshot and tied his arms up. I also picked up the shirt Motoyama had taken off and tied it around his head, giving him enough slack to not suffocate him. This was so I could later use it as an excuse for not realizing it was Motoyama. "Don't move. I don't want to get hurt anymore." When I called out to Motoyama from behind, he suddenly collapsed from his struggles. I couldn't tell who was the robber, and I was torn between my thoughts. When I turned to Lena, she was staring wide-eyed, unable to believe what had just happened. I think I had told Lena before that this was the one who invited me to Aikido, but it seemed she had completely forgotten. I took another extended action, tying up Motoyama's legs, then stood up and put my jacket over Rina. "Are you okay, Rina? You must have been scared." When I spoke to her in a gentle tone, Rina opened and closed her mouth in a panic. I took my smartphone out of my pants pocket and made a call. "Hello, is this the police? My house was broken into and my wife was attacked. I need a police car and an ambulance right away." "Hey, police, come on, Hishi-san." Ignoring Rina's panic words, I gave her my home address and hung up the phone. Then, suppressing the revulsion that was welling up inside me, I gently hugged Rina. "It's okay now. The police will come soon and catch the robber. Let's go to the hospital and have them check on your body." Rina remained silent and said nothing to my words. I could hear Motoyama, who was still lying on the floor, sobbing in a pitiful voice. A few minutes later, the police car and ambulance arrived, and the entire area became abuzz. As the neighbors gathered to see what was going on, Motoyama was taken to the police station in a police car. Lena was taken to the hospital in an ambulance, and I rammed it. After being examined at the hospital, Lena, who was questioned by Mrs. Jingguan, finally couldn't hide it any longer, and tearfully confessed that Motoyama was her lover and not a robber. Motoyama, who was subjected to rigorous interrogation, naturally desperately denied the robbery charge, but was safely released after Lena confessed. The haggard look on his face when the police picked him up was truly the highlight. It was hard to hold back laughter. Mayumi speaks with a laugh. Several weeks had passed since then. Mayumi and I were at the restaurant where Mayumi first told me about Motoyama's affair. We were there to report to each other on how things had progressed since then. Motoyama was released after that, but the matter became a police matter, and he was fired from his company after being found out about his inappropriate behavior during work hours. I gave Mommy a copy of the camera footage as evidence of the affair, and as a result, Motoyama's legal wife was divorced. Mommy got the child, Maki. She demanded additional compensation and child support from Motoyama, and made him pay it all in one lump sum. Of course, I also demanded compensation from Motoyama. The total bill for the two of us was close to 4 figures, and Motoyama, unable to pay with his own savings, went into debt. I briefly wondered what he was going to do, being unemployed and in debt, but it was none of my business, and more than anything, it was his own fault. Meanwhile, Lila and I also got divorced. Lila was very stubborn and cried a lot during our discussion. Koji was just a momentary lapse of judgment. The only person I truly love is he/she. Was it just a momentary lapse of judgment that led to an affair for 2 years? And she probably doesn't find me attractive as a man. When I said that and showed her the camera footage as evidence of the affair, Rina cried even harder and hung her head down. After that, the lawyer I hired handled things well, and Rena and I were able to get a divorce without any problems. Even after the divorce, Rena would send me some irrational line messages, but after the lawyer gave me a stern warning and we exchanged a restraining order, everything went smoothly. Rena was also asked for alimony by Mayumi and me, and she took on debt to pay it. Up until now, I had been able to live a leisurely life working as a freelancer from home because I was the one earning the money, but I don't think that will be possible in the future. Miyata-kun, thank you for believing what I said. I might not have been able to get through the divorce on my own. Actually, if Mayumi hadn't told me in the first place, I don't think I would have realized that Rena had betrayed me. It's me who should be talking about spirits. Mommy smiled back at my words and stood up, saying, "Okay. I have to get back to work soon. I'm a single mother from now on. I'm going to work hard for my child." Seeing Mommy smiling as she said that, I felt a sense of respect for her strength as a mother. I stood up and left the store with her. The sky was clear and blue outside. I stretched my body and took a deep breath. The betrayal of the person I loved had hurt me terribly, but I couldn't stay depressed forever. Life is long. I might encounter some great good fortune that would erase this misfortune. I had to move forward and make the most of that good fortune. With that in mind, I took a fresh step into a new life.
Has she deleted her history? At first, it was just a coincidence that I realized my wife's behavior was strange. But when I looked into it, I discovered some shocking facts. Having learned about my wife's true nature, I decided to punish her. My name is Hishi. I have been married for 5 years and live with my wife, Ma, and our 1-year-old daughter, May. At the beginning of this year, we bought a used condominium a little outside of Tokyo, making it our dream home. Maki and I met through work. Maki was an office worker at a client company, and every time I went to visit her, I thought to myself, she's cute and loves her. Perhaps sensing my mood, the person in charge at the other party threw a drinking party for me, and that was where I first spoke to Maki. We discovered that we both enjoyed camping as a hobby, and as we both went camping together solo a few times, we grew closer and naturally started dating. Given our ages, I had been thinking about marriage from the start of our relationship, and it seemed like she thought the same way, so I went to meet Maki's parents at a fairly early stage. I work for a fairly well-known company, and when my parents found out, they were very happy and even supported our marriage. Since Maki is alone, I wanted her to marry a proper, decent man. The words my father said to me while we were drinking together on the night of my wedding proposal came to life after May was born. It's possible that she's a second or third class man, but when I think about the future of my cute child, I can't help but feel that I want her to marry an honest, hardworking man and not get involved with a bad guy. I know I'm just a parent, but May is truly an adorable, charming girl who is so cute that I can't stand to look at her. Of course, both my parents and Ma's parents dote on their grandchildren a lot, so I'm starting to worry that they're being spoiled too much. I think things are going pretty well between Maki and me considering we've been married for 5 years. Since she got pregnant, we've stopped having sex at night, but I think we've built a good teamwork as a family. She's also very serious and does a great job of handling housework, work, and childcare. Maki quit her job once when May got pregnant, but she's recently started working part-time. She doesn't have to work so hard, right? May is still young. Of course, I want to be with May, but I'd rather go out and work in Kiharashi than just the two of us staying home all the time. My parents and Hiroshi's parents have both said they'd be happy to take care of our grandchildren, so I think I'll take them up on their offer. I see. Maki, do whatever you want, but don't push yourself too hard. Okay, thank you. That's how I ended up going to work 2 or 3 times a week. I also try to participate in housework and childcare as much as possible, and while relying on my parents, we live happy, if ordinary, days. One day, my mother's friends came to visit, so I decided to go for a drive with May. While we were getting ready to go out, May was watching a video on Maki's smartphone, so I tried to take the smartphone away from her, saying, "We're going out now, so let's give it back to Mom." Then she got angry and wouldn't talk to me about her smartphone. When this happens, May is quite stubborn and won't give up until I give in. I tried using various toys to distract her, but it didn't work at all. I'm sorry. May Maki won't talk to me about her smartphone. What should I do? I was thinking of going out. Oh, my friends are coming soon. Today's gathering is about leaving the kids with your husband and surviving. It's not good for May to be here alone. That's right. But at this rate, she'll definitely not talk to her smartphone. Then you can take it away. It's only a few hours, and she won't have time to check her smartphone if she's with her friends. Really? Then I guess I'll do that. I'm planning on killing time at my parents' house, so call me if anything happens. Okay. Thank you so much. Have fun. I left the house with May so as not to disturb the girls' night out. May was in a pretty good mood after getting her smartphone, so the drive to my parents' house went pretty smoothly. As soon as my parents saw May, they started playing with her, making such sweet voices that you wondered where they were coming from. May, overwhelmed by the pressure from Gigi and Ba, naturally let go of Maki's smartphone, so I picked it up so I wouldn't forget and put it in my pocket. Then a line notification appeared on the screen. I can't wait to see her. I'm looking forward to next Saturday. I was so shocked that I panicked for a moment. What was that message just now? It was from a friend. But there were no emojis or anything. How could a female friend send a message like this? The thought of it surprised me, and I started to break out in a cold sweat. I opened Maki's smartphone to look at the message again. Ever since May started wanting to touch her smartphone, we knew each other's smartphone passcodes. So, I couldn't believe there was a guy who would send me messages like that under those circumstances, and as time went on, I began to think that maybe I was just misunderstanding something. I opened Line and looked for unread messages. If I marked it as read, Maki would know that I had seen it online, so I didn't open it, but I long pressed it to double-check the contents of the message. Strangely enough, there was a message from someone called Hashimoto, but even when I long pressed it and looked at the message, none of the messages Ma had sent or the previous conversations came up. To put it simply, the previous conversation history had been deleted, and all that was left was the message that had just arrived. Did she delete the history? I had a really bad feeling about it. She wouldn't go to the trouble of deleting her special history unless she had something to hide. So, I never dreamed that Ma might be cheating on me, so I was so shocked that I couldn't move from the spot for a while. W, are you okay? Is something wrong? Huh? Oh, Mom. No, it's not that she looks bad. What's wrong? Are you feeling unwell? No, I'm fine. Mei-chan looks hungry, so let's have lunch. You haven't eaten yet, have you? Oh, I'm fine. I ate before I left the house. Then we'll eat by ourselves. Okay, are you sure you're okay? If you're tired, you can have guests. Okay, then I guess I'll do that. I somehow managed to avoid my mother and ended up with a guest all by myself. I really didn't feel like having a proper conversation with anyone right now. I searched the internet for things like, wife, why delete Line chats, and tried to look at my current situation objectively. But the search results only showed articles about cheating and when she started deleting her history, which only made me more anxious. Time passed quickly, and Ma called my parents' house to say that all of her friends had gone home, so I took May home. May was exhausted from playing and asleep, so I quickly took her to bed. In the meantime, I peeked from behind at Maki checking her smartphone, and I saw a faint smile on her face. How was today? Did you have fun? Huh? Oh, yeah. It was a lot of fun. Everyone brought me lots of souvenirs as a thank you for providing the place. I see. That's great. May was a good girl. Yeah, I was able to take a nap because my moms were always there to keep me company. I see. We've both
gotten through this well. Oh, I might be going out next Saturday too. Is that okay? Huh, next Saturday too.
Question mark.
Huh? Is that inconvenient? Then I'll be back on the same day, so it's fine.
No, it's fine. Are you going out?
Yeah. A friend from high school invited me, and it's just for lunch, so I don't think I'll be out too late. Okay. Have fun.
Thank you as always. My heart was pounding loudly, and I was worried that she might notice how anxious I was. From the looks of it, she's probably going to meet that Hashimoto guy next Saturday, so following her would be the quickest way to find out. That's what I was starting to think. I spent the next Saturday feeling frustrated. I couldn't concentrate on my work, and even when I was playing with May, my mind wasn't really there, and I ended up upsetting her more than once or twice. Maki also worried about me, asking if I was okay because I'd been feeling tired lately. I wanted to tell her that she was worried about me, but I held back the urge and said that I was fine, even if it was just for a little while. Finally, Saturday morning arrived. Ma hadn't gotten ready to go out in 4 years, and even dressed up more than usual. My parents came to my house and we saw Maki off together. I had asked my parents to look after May without her knowing because I wanted to buy a surprise present for Maki, so there was no need for Maki to suspect anything. Well then, I'll go too. You two are so in love, you two, giving me a surprise. Ignoring my mother who was waiting for me to get home, I hurriedly followed Maki. She headed home, took the train, and arrived at a certain hospital after about an hour. Why was she in the hospital? I was overcome with a strange sense of anxiety, wondering if she had some kind of illness or something, but for the time being I watched her from behind the shadows so as not to lose sight of her. She met a man of the same age as us in the lobby, and together we headed towards the inpatient ward. Then we entered a certain hospital room. The name Hashimoto Ryo was posted there. I was startled because I recognized that last name. I couldn't go inside the hospital room, and I thought that if I wandered around too much it would arouse suspicion, so I moved to a place where I could see the hospital entrance, hid behind something, and waited for the firewood to come out. It must have been about an hour later. She came out with the man I had met in the lobby at first. They headed straight for the parking lot, so I followed them. And the moment they got into his car, the two of them kissed. At that moment, my mind went blank and I collapsed to my knees. Can you believe it? I couldn't believe that she had just gotten angry right in front of me, and the shock made my chest hurt. When I glanced back at them, I was surprised to see that they were still kissing. I desperately suppressed the urge to go there and yell at them, and somehow managed to film the man's car and the kissing scene with my smartphone. After that, their car drove off in a direction. It had only happened for a few minutes, but I was so shocked that I couldn't move. Before I knew it, I was crying. After a while, an elderly woman called out to me, "Are you okay? Should I call someone?" Quote. And I finally came to my senses. If I thought about it calmly, if a middle-aged man was kneeling and crying in the hospital parking lot, I would think that something serious had happened and want to help him. I thought to myself, "Thank you." But I replied, "I'm fine." I went back to the hospital to buy a drink and take a breather. My heart was still beating fast and I was sweating, but I was gradually calming down, so I decided to take stock of the situation. When I checked the video I had filmed earlier, it was a little blurry, but it did show Maki kissing the man. The license plate number of the car was clearly visible, so it wouldn't be difficult to find out who he was. But I still had the question of who that man was. A man named Hashimoto had sent a message to Ma. The name of the man in the hospital where she was hospitalized was Hashimoto, but it seemed that Ma was not having an affair with him, but rather the man in the car. I tried to deduce it, but I thought there were limits to what an amateur could do, so I immediately looked for a company that would take on the investigation. In this convenient age, I found a good company in about 10 minutes and contacted them right away. Since things had come to this, I decided to ask them to investigate the affair just in case, and thoroughly uncover Maki's secret. I was shocked because I never dreamed that she had been cheating on me. But I couldn't let her know that I knew about this. I needed to take my time to find out the truth and think about what I wanted to do in the future. That's what I thought. So I went home, told my parents about it, and waited for Ma to come home. I'm home. Sorry. I'm a little late. Welcome home. How is it? Did you have fun? Yeah. Thank you so much. But I don't have any plans to go out this weekend, so don't worry. It's fine, don't worry about it. Where did you go? Huh? Oh, I had lunch at an Italian restaurant. It was pretty good. She continued talking after that, but I kept my eyes peeled for any changes in her. Then, I smelled something different from the usual scent, like she had just taken a bath. I held back my emotions and said, I see, I'm glad you had fun. I started playing with May. Seeing her innocent smile made me want to cry, but I somehow managed to hold it in and distance myself from the firewood. About 2 weeks later, I received a call from the company I had asked to investigate, saying that the infidelity investigation had been completed. I was surprised because it was sooner than I had expected, but they said that there were many clues, such as the car license plate number and the hospital. Then, when I read the contents of the report, I felt like I had been thrown into hell. To my surprise, Hashimoto Ryo, who had been hospitalized at the hospital, was Ma's ex-boyfriend. Furthermore, the two had apparently even considered getting married. However, since he was a part-time worker pursuing his dreams, his father was apparently strongly against it. So in the end, the two of them ended up breaking up. And to my surprise, about a year ago, his illness was discovered. And since Maki's cheating partner wasn't her ex-boyfriend but his real brother, I calmly pointed out that she was cheating on him with her sick ex-boyfriend's brother. If she was cheating on him with her ex-boyfriend who didn't have much time left, I could understand. But I thought that cheating on him with my brother in this situation was the lowest of the low. Furthermore, her brother, Kenta Hashimoto, has a priest. It's a so-called double affair. When I thought about what her ex-boyfriend would do if he found out about this, I felt a surge of sympathy. And then I thought again about how I had been betrayed by Maki for about a year. When I realized that it must have been right after May was born, I gradually became angry at her for refusing to have sex with me at night while enjoying sex with someone called Kita. In the first place, wasn't the only reason she married me because I worked for a good company? The most important thing was that her parents didn't object. She still had feelings for her ex-boyfriend, so she went to see him, but in the end she was swayed by her brother. What kind of woman would treat an ex-boyfriend with a short wife name? My emotions continued to explode. I couldn't forgive her for going out on weekends until now, and thinking that she was meeting that man even when I was trying my best to take care of May, I came to this conclusion because I didn't want her to touch May with those dirty hands. After hearing the report, I agonized over it, but after talking to my parents about the situation and consulting with them, I made serious preparations for securing her and getting a divorce. Then I invited Maki's parents to my house and said, let's have dinner together. I finally put into action the plan I had been sulking about. Oh, Hiroshi, Thank you for inviting me today. Maki was sulking with mom because she never invited me to dinner. That won't happen anymore. Didn't dad say mom's cooking was better, so she went there every time? Well, both of them are fine, aren't they? Mei-chan is hungry too. They're smiling and disheveled. Saturday afternoon is supposed to be a happy family meal, but from here on out, things get tough. As I breathed, my parents arrived at the perfect time. Thank you for today. Then Mei, please take care of it. I'll contact you when I'm done. Hey, Hiroshi, what's going on here? Aren't your parents going to join us for dinner? Yes. I'm going to have you look after Mei, so my parents are going home. What's going on? Why are you looking after Mei? There's something the four of us want to talk about right now. Even if Mei says she doesn't know yet, it's something she doesn't want to hear. Maki and her parents look at each other with confused expressions. My parents took Mei and left as planned. I'm sorry to have startled you. I just thought this was the best way. Hiroshi, what's going on here? Explain it to me properly. I know. Maki, you're not going to tell me the truth about what's going on. What are you talking about? What do you want me to say? What's going on? You're just rambling. Actually, I've followed Maki before. I happened to see a notification on her phone and I was worried that she had made an appointment with someone, so I went to the hospital. To see Hashimoto-ri. Huh, Hashimoto? Hashimoto, could it be that guy? What's going on? Well, the air in the room instantly became tense. After that, you got into a man's car after leaving his hospital room, right? Kenta Hashimoto. I asked his older brother to look into it. Maki. Are you still seeing him? And what do you mean by older brother? I already know everything. Can't you at least explain what's going on with you? Maki, say something. What's going on? Ma remained silent, looking down. A long silence followed, so I had no choice but to line up the photographic evidence of their infidelity on the table. As you can see from this, Ma is having an affair with Kenta Hashimoto, the real older brother of her ex-boyfriend, Ryo Hashimoto. The other person is also a person who is involved in religious ceremonies. It seems that about a year ago, sometime after Mei was born, Kita contacted her. He must have said something like, "My brother is sick, and his wife's name isn't long, and he wants to meet you." Maybe he still had feelings for her because his parents were against the marriage and he gave up. And then, after visiting him many times, things got better between him and his brother, and they continued their relationship. Do you have anything to say? Oh, by the way, when I visited him, they even kissed in the car, so here's the video evidence. When I said that and took out my phone, Maki screamed, "Stop it. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry." At first, I just went to see him because he said his wife was short-lived. I really didn't mean to cheat on him or anything. But in the end, I ended up cheating on him with his older brother. What would he think if he found out? It would be painful for both of us, and we wouldn't be able to do anything for him. But his life expectancy is getting shorter and shorter. He's the only one who can understand that situation. Why didn't you tell me? He's the only one who can understand you, so you haven't tried anything else. I'm sorry about that. And you've been leaving that girl behind to go see other guys since Mei was little, right? You lied to Mei and me. If you like that guy that much, then be with him. I'll break up with you. Huh? No, why? I'm sorry. Did you really not mean to do that? No, it's too late now. You've been deceiving me for about a year now. I can't trust you anymore. I don't want someone who cheats on me with her ex-boyfriend's brother who's married for a short time to take care of Mei. Wait, what do you mean? Are you trying to take my name away from me? No, it wasn't like I was taking it away. It was Maki who gave it up. Maki made me do this. Hiroshi, I'm really sorry. This is what we're saying too. I'm really sorry. I'll tell you what to do, but please don't divorce me. I'm sorry, Dad, but no matter how much you apologize, there's nothing I can do. But I intend to make things right with May. But I will make sure that I get my divorce and my claim for compensation are serious, so please keep that in mind. Don't do that. Hiroshi, please forgive me. After that, my dad slapped me and knelt down to me while I was crying, and things got pretty chaotic. I left home with the bare minimum of luggage I had prepared in case I couldn't open my door. After that, the four of us, my parents, me, and May, started living together at my parents' house. At first, May missed her mother, but her mood improved as her mother and father played with her nonstop every day, and she's been acting like a good girl. I contacted Maki again through my lawyer to ask for compensation, divorce, and to secure a divorce, and I also asked Kenta Hashimoto for compensation. However, I added a request that he make sure that Hashimoto Rai doesn't find out, so he didn't hear about Maki and her older brother while he was in the hospital room. I thought his older brother would also break up with her, but apparently he couldn't lose his family because of his younger brother's ex-girlfriend, so he didn't divorce her and got his wife's permission. So he ended up living with just the compensation payment to me. And when it comes to Maki, it seems that a divorce from me is inevitable. If he pays compensation, he won't get any questions. And the man she had an affair with also left her, and now that she's lost everything, she's been visiting her ex-boyfriend Ryo Hashimoto's hospital every day. Did he say that he couldn't forget you after all? I realized that she was a scary woman. Maybe Maki thought she had finally found someone she truly loved. However, those happy days didn't last that long, and about half a year after our divorce, her ex-boyfriend passed away. Ma was apparently very depressed, and her mental state was so bad that she couldn't even come to visit May. It was sad that her ex-boyfriend had passed away, but Ma couldn't bring herself to be there with her. In the end, Maki didn't show up for us for a while, and her parents continued to visit her regularly. May loved how much they spoiled her, so she was happy about it. And now, Maki is hospitalized in a psychiatric ward. I haven't heard the details, but I confirmed with her parents that no harm would come to May, and left everything to them. As for me, even though I rely on my parents for help, I'm busy every day with work, housework, and childcare, so I hardly have time to be depressed. However, my friends who know the situation have started to arrange drinking parties for me so that I can meet new people, and I'm grateful that I've been able to survive regularly. I think May must be lonely without her mother, but I'm going to do my best to protect her smile with the help of as many people as possible. And that will continue to be my top priority. I don't know if I can just dismiss it as her own fault, but that's all I can think about right now.